with the idea for this documentary, there was loads of negative stereotypes about Nigeria and the nation Nigeria itself. I started asking people, when you hear the word Nigeria or the word Nigerian, what comes to your mind? I had all kinds of answers, and some people say terrorists, some people say kidnappers, some people say fraudsters. People have all kinds of negative perceptions about Nigeria, but growing up in Nigeria at most stages of my life, I know we are people with tenacity, people of strength and determination. So I thought there's more to us being Nigerians than all this. How can I showcase this to the world, for the world to see that I'm a Nigerian and I'm doing something great? I came up with this idea of having a group of Nigerian people in the UK especially, that have been doing something wonderful in their communities, something wonderful in the nation, and hold reputable offices in the nation. Pastor Agwe is the Redeemed Christians Church senior pastor in the UK. The Redeemed Christian Church of God is a church that has more than 640 churches in the UK, which he oversees. Last year, Pastor Agwe was nominated and voted as Britain's most inspirational black man.
It was something that started out with the Mayor of London's office, and they wanted to encourage the ethnic communities, and so they started this whole campaign around the most inspirational black person in the UK, and there were a lot of people on that list who I admire greatly, and I certainly don't think I'm in the same category as them, the Mandelas and the Obamas and Reverend Martin Luther King and stuff like that. But anyway, somehow, I guess, because I'm here, I'm in the community, I am very involved in the black community, and certainly very involved in the black church community, faith community.
The mayor of Enfield, our worshipful Katie Anolue, has inspired me in so many ways. She's taught me a lot of things. It's a woman which I've always admired from far. It's a woman who moved from being a midwife, went back to school to study law. Then she's a lawyer. Now she's a mayor.
On May 2002, I was first elected. So this is really my 10th year as a local councillor. So in fact, we're in 11th year now. So that is 3 times, I've been elected 3 times. The journey, I find it smooth. And it's because I'm doing what I want to do. It gave me the opportunity to talk to people. Growing up, I grew up as someone who has been with people all the time. As the eldest, I'm looking after my siblings. So I've always been with people, with the community. And I thought I'm doing what I really like to do. As a midwife, I'm talking to women. I'm talking to their family. I'm discussing issues with them and discussing generally everything. They trust you, they believe in you, and you also make them welcome so that they will be able to make you part of them, and you can impact your knowledge and impact your emotional feeling to them. And I think this is what I did, that I remained in one hospital throughout. So North Middlesex was my first job and my last job. I stayed in North Middlesex Hospital for 40 years.
Debbie Abriyo is somebody I have so much respect for. She's one of those people that if you can't stand the fire, you get out of the kitchen. She says it the way it is. And Debbie Abriyo is the founder of Africa.
The full name is Africans Unite Against Child Abuse. And we started in 2001. Actually, we started in May 2001, so we're going to be 12 years this year, and 2013. The main reason why we started was simply because at that time, funny enough, we're still seeing a lot of it, but at that time we're seeing lots of children newly arrived from different parts of Africa, Nigeria, Eastern Africa, Southern Africa, but especially West African children, Nigerian children, Ghanaian children, Sierra Leonean children, coming to live in the UK, but experiencing a lot of difficulties. So for example, for some of the children is difficulty at school around bullying because of their names, their funny accents, their funny clothes, and so on and so forth. And for some other children, it's actually abuse within the home environment. So children being abused due to physical chastisement, physical abuse, or children being trafficked into the UK for different forms of abuse and exploitation.
Dr. John and Stella Osamoah are directors of Odega House. They are like those parents you never knew you had until you met them. They are full of wisdom and understanding. It's been a privilege to be able to sit down with them. They're those kind of people that when you plan to spend 5 minutes in their place and you end up spending 5 hours without even knowing it.
One of the fundamental things I was taught as a child is know yourself. If you know yourself, then nobody can tell you about yourself. You see, I grew up knowing that we have something. There are so many questions that arose as a child. I was asking certain questions, but as the years went by, I became convinced that I was special. Not just me. I mean, when I say I don't mean me, myself. I mean us as a people, that we are special. That we were taken millions of miles away as slaves, and we survived. You know, we're happy. There's a spirit, an indomitable spirit that is in there that people find they can't understand. You're happy even in poverty.
Just Energy is a man full of insight and it's so simple that it makes you look at things in a very different way. You see from a new perspective, and in a very logical and intelligent way. And I'm happy that it's just shown me more ways of being a Nigerian and being great.
Here in the UK, you take the film industry. There's a lot of Nigerians making their way in it, and Africa's richest man is actually from Nigeria. Loads of Nigerians. I'm here in the UK. I've been working, paying my tax and everything. I know quite a lot of Nigerians that are doing so well. And if you just take the educational index as well, in America, there are more, Nigerians account for more higher education qualifications than any other race in that country. And so, even there's a joke, I'll tell you one joke about in the UK. They say that three types of kids in the UK, they don't get the breather. Is it Chinese, the Nigerian, and the Indian? Because once they are past 5-year-old, the parents say, you must read this, you must become this, you must become that, you must get your degree, you must get your postgraduate degree, you must get a PhD. And that's the way it is.
And one of the first questions that came to my mind was, as Nigerians, are we really these bad people?
There is a saying that says that when one little finger is soiled with oil, it stains the remaining. That is what is happening. That Nigeria has got a negative name doesn't mean because we're all bad. We are not the worst in the whole world. We are not the worst. But Nigeria has got very smart people. We're very smart people. You know, unfortunately, when people get involved with one smart guy who wants to, dupe them or something, it goes like all of us are not bad. I'm sure that 99% are good, it's just about that 1%. It's just like one finger that soils the rest of the 4.
There are bad apples in the barrel, there's no question about that. Do I think it's exaggerated? Yes, I do, because sometimes when you read the reports about the country, and it's not just Nigeria. My wife just got back from Liberia, and we were reading the reports on the websites of the Foreign Affairs and all the other agencies. And you would think that everybody was walking around Liberia carrying a gun, waiting to kill you. And she got into Monrovia, and it was like any other normal city anywhere in the world. I mean, she didn't experience any violence. People were living normally. And you get the same with Nigeria.
For me, I think perception is a very big thing in labeling people, and it didn't start today. It didn't start today. If you go back to the Second World War, it was the Jews. Yeah, it was the Jews. It started off as, they are corrupt, they are this, they are that. And because it was not checked, it moved on to actually physical abuse, and then it went on to the Holocaust. So, like I said, there's little snippets of perception that builds up over time, and if it's not challenged, and that is a problem we have as Black people organization. We've not organized to actually challenge some of these stereotypes, and that is why it's lingering, and if we don't check it, it's going to grow. But thankfully, there's quite a lot of strides that Nigerians are making that's actually kind of nullifying some of these effects.
What would you say to a young Nigerian like me?
I would probably quote one of my favorite scriptures, that wise King Solomon. He says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, which means that, you're what you think. And I would say to the young Nigerian person out there, don't let anybody put a label on you. You come from a potentially great country. 1 in 4 Black people is Nigerian. That alone, makes the country significant.
What is important the most is how they see themselves. I'm a Nigerian too. I know there's lots, but I don't care because I'm not a criminal. I'm not involved in criminal activity. I do my work. I get a lot of positive recognition for the work I'm doing. That's what matters to me. And in a way, that's what people will see about you as well, as a young person, studying, working very hard, achieving very good grades in uni or in college. That's what people see about you. It gets to a point where the general perception doesn't matter because you're not every single Nigerian. You don't represent every single Nigerian. You represent yourself.
As a growing up child, I was told to know who you are. Don't let anybody tell you your history. Find out yourself. Know who you are. There's a young lady who works with us. She grew up, she was born here, she grew up here. And ever since she started working with us, she's amazed because she never ever understood that she had what she is seeing. She can't believe that we are so passionate about the food her grandmother and her mother has been telling her about. And she's proud. And it's a case of education and the right education, knowing indeed who you are.
Think about yourself as one person. If you think about yourself as one person and say, all right, yes, I'm from Nigeria, but this is me. I want to work hard to achieve. If all of us are thinking that way, very soon we find that all of us is going to be positive about ourselves. And we that are positive about ourselves are the ones that are going to make people to change about view about us. But if you said, yes, they said I'm stupid, I'm going to stupid, then you're not going to make anything about yourself. You're just going to be worse and worse. But if you wake up and say, yeah, yes, they said I'm stupid, but I'm going to tell them that I'm not
We
stupid.
don't want to be like, we are a people of culture. We build the pyramids. We've done important things in the world. We need to tell our own stories. Until we start to tell our own stories, people are going to look down upon us. Because if I don't know your story, if I don't know where you're coming from. So if you meet people on the road, you say, what's your story? That's what people want to hear. What's your story? I know the Indian story. And now they've got a nuclear weapon. They've taken 300 million people out of poverty. They have Bollywood, and they are mainstream. That's their story. The Chinese story is they've been able to lift 400 million people into the middle class. They're producing stuff. You understand what I'm saying? So Now, they have a story. Africa, what's your story? So, and we have to tell it. If whatever you're doing, have that in mind, that you must have a pool of people behind you.
And I also wanted to know if they had any last words to say.
Be more positive about, life, and also to take things more seriously, in my viewpoint, especially in this country where, people think that because they're in Europe, it's easier for them to get material things. They will rather pursue material things.
Well, I'd like to just encourage people to be positive. I'd also like to, if anyone asked me what is the foundation of anything that you might have achieved, and I would say very clearly, it's the grace of God. And I'd like to just say to people that grace is available for anybody. The beauty about grace is that you don't do it yourself. That's the beauty about grace. You rest in God, and then God does what He wants to do through you. So you achieve much more than you could have ever hoped to achieve, because God's grace is available for you. And that grace is available for anybody who turns to God and says, I want to know you.
We have to say we are good people. They must not let the little bit that think we are bad make us all bad. And we must portray ourselves as good people.
My parents told me, and what essentially they have drummed into one was that Africa had its Camelot days, and Africa's history didn't start with the slave trade. Africa's history goes back to the times of ancient Egypt, to the times of the ancient pharaohs, when we had our Camelot days and we were rulers of the world. But lo and behold, like other civilizations, be it the Greek, be it the Romans, we had our days of ascendancy, and then we had the days of our great civilization, and then decadence setting, and then the demise of the African hegemony. But that we, once upon a time, were great people on this earth, and that if they act true to form, that greatness will
come again.
Yes, it will speak through them.
That we need to tell ourselves. If you don't tell it yourself, it could be slanted anyway. So keep the faith in Africa. Africa is rising again.
The whole aim of the documentary is to show a young Nigerian out there, or a young person out there, or a young Black or African right there, that if these people can do it, you can do it also. You don't have to go through the negative stereotypes or the negative vibes or become somebody negative. You can influence your life, you can influence your community, you can influence society, and you can create a new world for yourself.